because one of the impacts of trauma is a deep shame about yourself. You think it's your fault.
Especially sexual trauma.
Yeah, sexual trauma. You either invited it or deserved it, or you didn't fight back hard enough. This is a blame-obsessed culture. Something was wrong, somebody's to be blamed. So rather than actually looking at the conditions that make people behave in certain ways or not behave in other ways, we just point a finger. It's so easy to do that, and it's so toxic to do that. One of the actual needs of human beings, and this has been studied, is a sense of meaning and purpose. One of the toxicities of this culture is it robs so many people of a sense of meaning and purpose.
Thought to myself, Anouska, with your years of recovery, instead of thinking who you don't want to talk to, who would be the one person you would like to talk to? And I've followed your career and your work for many years, and I saw a video of yours, and I said, he's the one I want to talk to. He's the one I would trust.
So if I ask you then, what's your calling? What's the imprint that you want to leave? Well, some people say, I love his voice, it's soothing, and some people say he's so boring. You never know.
Hi, darling. Are you almost here? Oh, okay. She's the only one I let come. We had hordes of people who wanted to come. Can you turn the monitor towards me a little bit? Like this way? Angle it a little bit? Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
is Gaza going to come up?
I want to talk about Gaza, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I always want to talk about Gaza.
Good.
In everything. I think it should be brought up and I've brought it up with everybody who's been on here. Hi, my name is Anouska De Georgiou, and welcome to the Empowered Exchange. My guest today on the Empowered Exchange podcast is none other than Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a humanitarian advocate. He's a best-selling international author with 5 best-selling books. And he's also my hero and maybe my new friend. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here, and I haven't been able to hide it from anybody. I've been telling everybody. And I wanted to just give an introduction as to how I came to reach out to you.
Okay.
It was a really personal journey for me at a time that I was very vulnerable. So it's probably a couple of months ago now, I think, but I was in London, and I had just heard the news very early in the morning that my friend Virginia Giuffre had passed away by suicide.
Yeah.
Because of the bond that she and I share, because we were both victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and because she was the first person to really champion that cause and bring it to the public, to the media, her suicide hit me so hard. And I felt desperation and intense grief. And I was traveling with my daughter back to the United States that morning. And the entire flight, I was crying. And I was getting also requests from media to give interviews. And I felt so much conflict because I wanted to talk about her. I wanted to give her, I wanted to tell the world how much I valued her and how important she was.
Yeah.
But I felt uncomfortable talking to these journalists. I felt as though I didn't want to sensationalize the story or give salacious details of what had happened to her or what had happened to me. So when I got back from the airport and my daughter was finally going to sleep, I started scrolling on Instagram. And I thought to myself, Anouska, with your years of recovery, instead of thinking who you don't want to talk to, who would be the one person you would like to talk to? And I've followed your career and your work for many years. And I saw a video of yours and I said, he's the one I want to talk to. He's the one I would trust. And so I reached out to you and I wasn't expecting a response. And I'm so grateful. And when you reached back, and you were not only you reached back, but you were so kind and so compassionate, it was a life-changing moment for me. So thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm delighted I could be of help to you.
You know, recently it's been in the news a lot with the Epstein and Maxwell saga, we'll say. And it's caused me to really wonder, and I know that you've studied at length, how does a person become somebody who perpetrates on other people? And one of the things that I want you to help me understand, and perhaps the people watching, is how does somebody, because my understanding is both a potential victim and a potential perpetrator can come from the same unhealthiness.
That's right.
So my question is, how does one go one way and one go another way?
Yeah, that's always a key question. I think there's a couple of factors. Mm-hmm. The people that are traumatized, usually early in childhood, but there's even one person in their lives who can pay some attention to them and give them some sense of being seen and validated, they will not become perpetrators. Mm-hmm. But the person who is traumatized, and any number of people that behave abominably to others, you look at their childhoods, deep trauma there, which is not to excuse anything they do, but it's to explain where it comes from. But when there's nobody there to at all empathize with you, there's no empathetic witness, then some people identify with the power for a person who did it to them because they want to be powerful, so that this will never happen to them again. So they become vindictive and powerful, and they will exploit others to make themselves feel powerful, to compensate for the quote-unquote weakness that they showed when the bad things were happening to them. So they identify with the perpetrator. So Adolf Hitler, who was beaten horribly by his father, he identified with the power. You know, and he then perpetrated on a massive scale what happened to him in the family home.
Yeah.
And there's any number of examples like that in history.
So do you think, and what comes to mind when you say Adolf Hitler is Netanyahu?
Yeah.
So on this premise, we would imagine that he's had some kind of horrific childhood.
Well, I haven't studied Netanyahu's childhood, but his relentless power-seeking, what is he trying to compensate for?
Right.
His utter dishonesty. And the first time I saw him speak was decades ago, when he was a spokesperson for the Israeli government. I looked at this guy and I said, this guy is lying and he doesn't even know that he's lying. And Nietzsche, the German philosopher, said that people lie their way out of reality who've been hurt by reality.
Say that again?
People lie their way out of reality who were hurt by reality.
Right. That makes sense.
Of course. And so I can surmise. I know his father's politics, but I don't know what happened emotionally, personally between them. But I can surmise that whatever denials Netanyahu might raise, he was hurt and probably manipulated and not seen for who he was. So he's got to become this guy who doesn't even care when still children are starving to death.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And these are the people that get into power. Because to other people, they seem like strong people. And people want a strong person to protect them.
Yeah. Do you think that's a thing that's become a societal kind of conditioning, that we recognize power as strength? Or
yeah, there's a real confusion between authoritarian force and genuine strength. Whereas genuine strength is not forcing other people. It's actually about being able to be yourself with your vulnerability. Yeah. So people mistake lack of vulnerability with strength. So, and there's an interesting example. Jimmy Carter, who of all the American presidents, was probably the most down-to-earth and human. And when he was running for power, running for election, he he was a Christian, you know, and a believer, and he owned that he had lusted after other women outside the marriage. And, you know, in the New Testament it says that, you know, even to lust after, you know, is to, you know, and he owned it. And his handlers couldn't believe it. They said, "How could you do this? You just ruined your career." Well, he was being vulnerable. And Trump, President Trump, not yet president then, maybe he was already president in the first time, and he saw a photograph or a video of the elderly Carter carrying his own luggage, and Donald Trump mocked him. Because you're supposed to make other people do it for you. And Trump's, who's actually stronger? The person who can actually own their human frailties, like Carter did, or the person who has to deny they have any frailty at all? Who's actually stronger? The person who's humble enough to carry their own luggage despite the fact that they were used to be a president? Or the person who thinks that's a sign of weakness? Who's actually stronger as a human being?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I first got sober, I was lucky enough to have these great women around me who would mentor me and help me. And one of the things that stuck with me the most is my friend said, as a woman, your strength is in your softness. And I really heard that, because one of my defense mechanisms, one of my coping mechanisms was to be strong all the time. And I realized that was blocking intimacy, that nobody could get close to me because I was always pretending I was doing great, you know.
Which means that nobody ever saw you, because what they saw wasn't you, and the you wasn't seen, which is very isolating.
I mean, you know, when you were talking about the difference between somebody developing into a perpetrator versus a victim, I was realizing that although, because I developed into a victim, and I was realizing that even though I had challenges in my childhood and I had abandonments, what I did have is I had a mother who I knew loved me and I knew would give anything for me, even if perhaps she didn't have the tools to give me what I needed, but she had the willingness and the demonstrative nature.
And I'm sure that penetrated you in a positive way. But I do have a question about it, if you're open to answering it. Did you ever feel sad, lonely, upset as a kid?
Much of the time.
Who did you speak to?
Sometimes I would talk to my mother, but I knew that she was dealing with a lot. So often...
So you took care of her by not talking about it? Okay, so the problem wasn't that you weren't loved, or that you weren't the recipient of the best intentions. The problem was, though, is that for children to be... See, I loved my kids, especially when they were asleep, you know, but I loved my kids infinitely, but I didn't see them for who they were. I was too caught up in my own stuff. And not being seen is the greatest wound. So I would say to you, and this is not anybody's fault, because it's multi-generational. If your mom couldn't quite see you and be open to your sharing, it's because something happened to her in her childhood. So it's multi-generational. There's nobody to be blamed. But the ultimate wound then is that you have to shut yourself down in order to take care of the relationship. And I was saying to you before we talked that then by the time the whole Epstein scene burst into your life, you had disconnected from yourself so that they could do what they were going to do because your own self-protection was no longer available to you.
Very accurate.
Like no infant, any infant who's the least bit troubled will let you know. And you have a 12-year-old. Babies know how to ask for help. They know how to share their emotions. That's all they know how to do. But something happens to most of us that makes us shut down and then disconnect. And that disconnect then makes us prone to trouble later on.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think is the effect of the media on, on how we see ourselves? I feel as though there's been such a shift since the internet, since social media, on our own self-image, our own ability to see ourselves in reality versus our perception in the world online.
Well, I think it's a crucial question, and I think it's also, the impacts are for the most part devastating. Let's take something like Facebook. Like even the word Facebook, they call it meta now, whatever that means. But Facebook, what does that mean? Representing a face to the world. Not who we are, but a face.
Yeah.
And it's all about displaced attachment needs. Like, what do we do on Facebook? We have friends. How many friends? But they're not friends, they don't know you. They only know the face that you're presenting. A real friend knows you and values you and accepts you and celebrates you for who you are, not for the image that you present.
Yeah.
So it's a substitute for a relationship. And then what happens on Facebook? We like each other. But we don't like each other, we don't even know each other.
Yeah.
What we see, what we like, or what we think we like, is just an image. So it's actually a real undermining of genuine human relationships. And furthermore, as well, if I can be self-serving here, that book there, Hold On to Your Kids, which I wrote, I didn't write it. I did the writing, but it's the work of a brilliant psychologist friend of mine, Dr. Gabor Mate. In this culture, children have lost their attachments to parents. Now, children need to attach. They need to connect with somebody. Now, if you have a duckling being born, the duckling will hatch from the egg, look around, and see the mother duck. And you know what that process is called? When the duckling sees the mother duck, it's called imprinting.
Oh, imprinting, yes.
Yeah. So the duckling says to herself or himself, this is the creature who's my guide, my mentor, my protector, my nurturer, until I become an adult. But what happens to the duckling if the mother duck is not there? Is that the duckling will imprint on anything that moves, which could be a horse or a dog or a mechanical toy, none of which are designed to bring the duckling up to adulthood. Now in this culture, children have the same need to attach, to imprint, to connect to somebody. But so from an early age on, our kids are not with their adults anymore, not with their parents anymore, but in the company of other kids. So then they get imprinted on each other. And now they follow each other, their values and how to act and how to talk. So a lot of stuff happens between kids that adults don't even know about. Because there's this unnatural peer culture. And the social media is a conduit for these often very negative peer relationships where kids are, the British series Adolescence was a brilliant exposition of that, where a murder happens by a young adolescent boy of a girl, and it's all the influence of the peer group, loss of connection with adults, and the power of the social media. Yeah. So, and we don't realize this.
Yeah. I mean, I watch, my daughter goes to a Steiner school, so there's a group agreement among the parents, and in school and out of school, there's no social media. There's no screens. They don't use screens in school. They don't watch tablets or have phones, right up until, at least until 8th grade.
Great.
And I see the difference, the ability to, the concentration span that other children have, versus my daughter and her peers in her school. But I also see the struggle of parents who maybe single parent families, and my own struggle when I look back as a single mother from when my daughter was 1 year old, of, you just can't do it all.
You can't.
Right? And children are not meant to be raised by one person. They're meant to be raised in a community, and in a family that is a community, and then the extended community. So what is the solution for most families who are struggling to have enough time?
Well, here's the thing. To mention this book, it's called the myth of normal, trauma, illness, and healing in a toxic culture. And part of the toxicity of this culture is it's totally destroyed the template for parenting. So if you look at human evolution, how did we evolve over millions of years? And our own species, Homo sapiens, we've been here 150, 200,000 years, until about 12,000 years ago, which is about on the face of a clock. If we've been here for an hour, until 5 minutes ago, we used to live in small groups, out in nature, in communal groups, where there wasn't a question of isolated nuclear families or let alone single parents. The whole group was the parent.
Yeah.
And mothers had other mothers that spelled them off. There were uncles and aunts and cousins and grandparents. And so that parenting and child raising was the task of the whole community. We've destroyed that now in this culture. And so parents are struggling under totally impossible circumstances. Well, one of the things they have to realize is that it's not their fault, that they're not deficient, that they're working in an environment that simply doesn't support them. And then, can we to some degree create the conditions that, it's not that we can go back to being hunter-gatherers and living out in the jungle or on the savannah, but can we create communities getting together with other parents who see it our way, find their kids schools that doesn't regiment them but give an opportunity for their individual unfoldment. Some people can do that, others economically and otherwise can't afford it.
Right.
And so then when you look at what's happening with kids these days, all these diagnoses with oppositionality, which is total nonsense, and I mean, it doesn't even exist, never mind.
Right.
But everybody thinks it does, and you know, the attention problems, the spectrum problems, the depression, the anxiety amongst kids, of course, because the fundamental conditions for their healthy development have been fundamentally eroded by this culture. So parents need to understand that they live in a toxic culture, and in a certain sense, the culture, in the form of the screens, is actually has invaded their homes. There's been an enemy invasion. No, there are beautiful exceptions. Miss Rachel, you know,
Miss Rachel.
I'll be meeting her in a few weeks in New York.
My goodness.
Yeah, so there are exceptions, but even that should be done in a limited way and with the parents present.
And also, we should have a Miss Rachel in person in every community.
That's right.
You know, maybe that's something, maybe you can talk to her about that. Maybe we can start setting that up. Because, I mean, and as you so well pointed out, I think once you take away, when you say to somebody, to a mother particularly, it's not your fault. Because I know from my own experience and from working with many people, every single mother who is struggling to cope and giving their child an iPad feels guilty.
I know.
And ashamed.
I know. And sometimes, I totally understand that sometimes the iPad is the babysitter, because you got nobody else. But we pay a huge cost for that, you know, and the parents are not to be blamed here. They're doing their best. It's the culture that is toxic, and parents are struggling in a very challenging culture to keep it together and to give their kids what they can. It's really interesting because my first book is on ADHD, which I wrote after I was diagnosed with it. I wrote that in 1990, published in 1999. Two things happened this month. In an American magazine, which I won't dignify by mentioning, there's an article about how Mate blames mothers for the kids' ADHD. Which actually I go out of my way to say that mothers are not
their fault.
That's not their fault at all. You know, and I do say that the early environment shapes the child's brain, and that the most important influence on the child's brain development is their relationship with the parenting caregivers, which is not my own finding. It's simply what science has shown. But this article says that I blame mothers. Why? Because I point to the importance of the early environment. I also point out that's not the parents' fault. But anyway, so this article is, you know, Mate blames the parents, you know, which is just the opposite of what I actually say. The other thing that happened, in this book, she says I blame the parents. The other thing is, just this week in the New York Times, that 26-year-old book is number 5 on the audio nonfiction list. So on the one hand, there's this, so many people are finding benefit from understanding that it's not their fault, but that there were stresses in the environment that affected the brains and development of the sensitive kids. And here's some ways to correct it so that your kid doesn't have a disease. Your kid has a developmental delay, and if we provide the right conditions, they can develop in the right way. There's that, and then there's on the other hand, we're blaming parents. And I think what's happening is parents do feel guilty, and they think that when we talk about the early environment, they're being blamed. But they're not.
Yeah.
They're
And
not.
I think we're a society that's become obsessed with fault, with assigning blame.
Exactly.
And rather than obsessed with finding the solution and implementing it.
Exactly. This is a blame-obsessed culture. Something was wrong, somebody's to be blamed. So rather than actually looking at the conditions that make people behave in certain ways or not behave in other ways, we just point a finger. It's so easy to do that, and it's so toxic to do that.
When were you diagnosed with ADHD?
I was in my early 50s.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was I was the medical director or medical coordinator of the palliative care unit at the Vancouver Hospital. I was working with dying people when I was a family practitioner. And the social worker on the unit, Betsy Joe, her name was, said, "Gabor, can I have coffee with you?" And I said, "Yeah." So, and she told me that she's just been diagnosed. And when she told me about her traits, I said, I understood why she wanted to have coffee with me, because I recognize myself in every one of those traits. You know, the leaping mind all over the place, the tuning out, the absent-mindedness, the disorganization, the poor impulse control, difficulty sitting still, always being late, losing things all the time. And that's when I began to look at, well, what actually happened to me? And how does the human brain actually develop? And that's when I found out that the brain develops in interaction with the environment. And the most important aspect of which, as I said earlier, is an article from Harvard University that summed it up 12 years ago, that, the interaction of genes and experiences literally shapes the circuitry of the child's brain, the neurochemistry, the connectivity, and especially important is the quality of mutual responsiveness between adults and children in the early years, which means that when the parents are stressed or depressed or they are dealing with unresolved trauma or under economic pressure or political pressure,
so basically anything.
Any relationship,
life, right?
They have a harder time, not loving their kids, but of actually attuning with their kids, really getting the child's experience. And the most important quality for healthy child development is that the adults are able to attune with the child, get the child's experience, and to be able to mirror that. Yeah, I get it. This is how it is for you, and I'm with you. And when we're stressed and challenged, despite our best intentions, we have trouble doing that.
What do you think are the most important things you can say to your child?
Well, I would phrase that question differently.
Okay.
Because it's not what you say. It's the quality of the relationship. So that attachment relationship where the child feels safe, secure, the child can rest, where he, she, they don't have to feel they have to work to make their relationship work. Like you and I both had to work to some degree to make the relationship with our parents work. No child should have to work. No young child should have to work. No, any child should have to work to make the relationship. The relationship should just be there, unconditional. The American psychotherapist Carl Rogers talked about unconditional positive regard. And in the context of that relationship, then what you have to say will be very natural consequence of what's happening with you and the child at the moment. And not only that, what you say will be received by the child because they're open and trusting. On the other hand, we can say the most correct things and give the best advice and the best guidance, but if the relationship is not open, because the child is already too connected to the peer group, it's like throwing beans at a wall. It won't stick. So it's not what we say, it's who we are for them. That's what matters most.
So going back to, some of the things that I've been through, and having just spent time in DC with many of these other survivors, how do you think how do you think we best interrupt the cycle of abuse?
Well, you guys are doing it.
Right.
First of all, by speaking out. Because this happened also. I did a weekend retreat once with some survivors of the Bill Cosby thing. The same story. Well, different circumstances. Not quite as horrendous, but pretty horrendous. But by speaking out, they validated the experience of so many other women who had been assaulted, not just by Cosby personally, but in other circumstances. Because one of the impacts of trauma is a deep shame about yourself. You think it's your fault.
Especially sexual trauma.
Yeah, sexual trauma. You either invited it or deserved it, or you didn't fight back hard enough. Right. But so when you do what you and your colleagues did as a group to show up in the capital city and talk about it and demand open disclosure, you're speaking to literally millions of women, and also not just women, actually, millions of any gender. So I think you're doing it, and that's the best you can do. Now, what we could do as a society is a lot more than that. But in terms of those that have experienced this, the best thing they can do is to speak out and to connect with others.
It is interesting since I've spoken out publicly, and it's been several years now.
Yeah.
But I can see why women don't speak out.
Yeah.
I've had many messages of support, and since last week, thousands of messages in general.
I bet.
Many of them very supportive. Quite a lot of not supportive messages,
What were people saying to you?
One of the most interesting ones is, I don't look victim-y enough.
So they have a certain idea of what a victim should look like. Where did they learn that?
I don't know, but it wasn't an isolated comment. I've had many messages saying and actually, it's interesting, an article was written about me right at the beginning of the Epstein saga coming out, and it was by a prominent journalist in England. And as you said earlier, I won't dignify the publication with mentioning it, but the headline was, "With your naked ambition, we just don't believe you, Anouska."
Yeah. Well, first of all, the English press, some of it, a lot of it actually, exemplifies the very meaning of the word atrocious. I've seen it. It's blind, it's prejudiced, and it's identifies with power. So anybody who challenges power, to them is suspicious. They're just so, I think it was the Daily Telegraph that called me a stern and overbearing merchant of pain.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
So whenever I speak in England, especially, I say, well, I got to warn you.
Yeah.
The person talking to you is a stern and overbearing. I'm selling pain here. But you know what? It's because the British upper class has been so traumatized by their own history that the way to deal with it is to become stern, the stiff upper lip. What does a stiff upper lip mean? It means that you don't have emotions. And there's one British writer who said that an upper class Britisher could be having a class 10 nervous breakdown sitting next to you and you wouldn't even know about it.
Sure.
So these people who haven't dealt with their own trauma, they project their self-dislike onto you. They also have a certain view that a victim should look abject and defeated and not confident and not outspoken, not self-respecting. Well, but here's my question to you is, when you get those comments, Does it affect you?
Yes, it does affect me.
How does it affect you?
It taps into the unresolved shame
Yeah.
that I still have.
All right.
I've come a long way with it, but it's not gone.
Well, can I try something with you?
Sure.
What if I said, this is a trick I learned somewhere else, but I like it. If I said to you, Anouska, I love your purple hair, what would you say to me?
Thank you.
Really? Your purple hair? Is your hair purple?
No,
Then if I said, I love your purple hair, what would you say to me?
my hair's not purple.
Sorry?
My hair isn't purple.
Oh, you would say that, okay. And if I insisted that it was, what would you think of me?
I would think you're crazy.
Exactly. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you know that your hair is not purple.
Right.
So the only reason, what if you knew that you have nothing to be ashamed of?
Right.
What if you really knew that? Then
Yeah.
these people who say that to you, would it mean anything to you?
You know, usually what I do to try to overcome that is I imagine it being my child, you know? I imagine knowing so completely
Yeah.
that she's totally perfect.
Good.
And so then I imagine myself, and, you know, as I was mentioning to you earlier, one of the things that made me step in and start reaching out to see if I could be helpful in the Epstein situation
Yeah.
was because I had a baby girl.
Yes.
And when I looked at her, it wasn't how can I address this?
Yeah.
It was how can I not address this?
Yes.
Because if I don't address this,
Yeah.
I'm contributing to the cover-up
That's right.
of maintaining this, it's all fine, we'll push it all under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. So you have some mechanism of deflecting. It has an initial impact, but you don't stay with it.
Yeah.
You go past it.
You know.
Well, but to the extent that you don't go past it, it's just still that you haven't quite resolved
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this shame.
And I don't know that it's ever, I think there are good days and bad days, and there are more good days than bad days now.
Oh, totally. Listen,
Right.
so I speak out of Gaza, you know, as a Jewish infant survivor of the Holocaust. I'm particularly called to speak out on Gaza, and particularly called, like you say, that you can't stay silent in the face of it.
Right.
You know, otherwise you're contributing to it. And so some people really appreciate that. Others call me a terrorist supporter and a self-hating Jew and all that kind of stuff. On a good day,
Yeah.
okay, that's your view. I get it. You know, on a bad day, I can take it personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are the good days and the bad days.
Yeah.
But at least on the bad days, I tell myself, oh, I'm just having a bad day.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
And also, we surround ourselves, hopefully, with people who reinforce that we're just having a bad day and we're just taking it personally, and it isn't personal because
Exactly,
it's,
yeah.
as you said earlier, somebody else's craziness or insanity.
that's right.
Because if you can look at what's happening to people in Gaza
Yeah,
and think it's okay
yeah,
or defend it in any way, you are detached from your soul.
exactly.
And you're detached from whatever universe might be organizing us,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. So once you realize that, you don't take it personally anymore, and you don't even take it. Even I'm actually I'm working on is not hating or not getting too upset at these people,
Yeah.
as atrociously as they can behave, and they do. But you know what?
Yeah.
They're stuck in some dark place in their psyche. I wouldn't want to be there.
No, I wouldn't either. You know, many people, after I testified against Ghislaine Maxwell,
Yeah.
and after she was sentenced to 20 years,
Yeah.
many people asked me, are you celebrating? Is this this is a big win for you and for the other? And I said, it's not, to me, it's not to be celebrated. That is necessary to put someone in prison for 20 years to keep children safe. That's not a celebration for me. I feel glad that Jeffrey Epstein is dead and he can't hurt anyone else.
I'm not glad he's dead. I wish he was alive so he could answer some questions.
Well, I mean, I don't know that he would. He's dead because he was going to answer the questions.
Yeah.
But I really see that for me, having purpose has transformed my life.
How so?
Because when I have those bad days, when I have those criticisms,
Yeah.
I remember my purpose.
Yeah.
And I am so sure of it. And my purpose takes me out of being obsessed with myself.
Exactly. So that one of the needs of human beings, one of the actual needs of human beings, and this has been studied, is a sense of meaning and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
One of the toxicities of this culture
Mm-hmm.
is it robs so many people
Mm-hmm.
of a sense of meaning and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it was here in Los Angeles where we're speaking today,
Mm-hmm.
where 7 or 8 years ago I took part in a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And the intention of the workshop was to find your calling. I was in my mid-70s or early 70s, and you think by then I knew what my calling was, but by calling I don't mean my profession.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it that actually calls you?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that once you're no longer here, what's the imprint?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I came to after doing the workshop is my calling is that people are free. And so whether it's free from the impacts of trauma and the demons, the darkness that we all carry in our minds, and the shame that was inculcated into us, and the dysfunctional ways of seeing ourselves and others in the world, whether freedom in that personal sense or freedom in the political, social sense, which is why I'm so passionate about Palestinians and hoping that at some point they will find freedom, not at the expense of somebody else, because your freedom is never at the expense of somebody else. And I'm hoping that Jewish people will be freed from this terrible belief that they can only survive by dominating and suppressing somebody else. So I just want people to be free. And so if I ask you then, what's your calling? What's the imprint that you want to leave?
My calling is that everybody that I interact with feels that I care about them.
So your calling is that people feel cared about.
Yes. And also that the people I work with, I can help them to not need me. To not need me anymore.
That's not a calling.
Okay, what is it?
That's a calling is what the imprint that you want to leave behind.
Then it's love.
Yeah.
It's to
right.
have
so
people feel loved.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So your calling is that people feel cared for and they feel loved.
And nurtured.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's a great calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody will find their calling if they want to. And people do have this need. In fact, it's been studied that from the point of view of physical health, those people that have a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives, they're actually healthier.
Of course.
Physiologically, they're healthier.
Of course.
You know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel as though, and as we touched on earlier, there's so much self-obsession with social media, with am I being liked, am I being validated?
Yeah.
And if you are focusing constantly on yourself, you're going to find something wrong. And if you're focusing mostly on your calling or your passion or your purpose, then you don't have the sort of time or focus on yourself to worry about, seeing faults or finding faults.
Well, one of my struggles in life, and it's an ongoing task, is not to be under the influence of my ego. Because I have one, and everybody all do, and it wants to take over and constantly magnify itself. Now if you got a big enough ego that wants to be magnify itself, you might become president of the United States or head of a corporation or something.
Yeah.
But
I'll vote for you.
Sorry?
I'll vote for you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not that. My ego is not that big. Thank God. It's not that power corrupts. It's that the desire for power is already a corruption. Because what it is, like everything we do in life, there's always multiple reasons. Like if you ask me, why did you want to become a doctor? I say, well, I wanted to help humanity. In a more selfish sense, I might have said, because I want to make sure I have a decent living for me and my family,
Sure.
which is legitimate.
But it can be both.
Yeah, it can be both. Yeah, but those are both good. They're both valid. You know. But there's a third one. I had a third one that I wasn't aware of, which is I needed to be important because I didn't feel I was. And that's the part. It's the part that we don't know that creates the problems for us. Now you can go into politics because you really want to make a difference. I think a lot of people do. Initially, they go to a sense of idealism. Very quickly, they have a decision to make. Do I want to continue to do good, or do I want to continue to get reelected? And the two are not necessarily the same.
And that's the problem with our system.
Exactly.
Is that the only way to perpetuate your career in politics is to compromise on your values.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we wonder why things are so awry.
Well, we're not rewarding the right things in this society, in any modern country.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been reading your book, The Body Says No.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty heavy going.
Is it?
Yes.
Why do you find it heavy?
I think it's heavy because I see with every case that you talk about this realization that comes that the person's whatever illness they're suffering from is coming from the fact that they didn't express themselves, they weren't seen, they weren't heard, and that's almost a fatal thing for people.
But the good news is, if you realize that, you can actually change it.
But for most of the people, most of the case studies in your book, it was kind of, too late for many of them.
You know what? So that book was written 24 years ago.
Yeah.
My more recent one, The Myth of Normal, I take the healing process much further. I know a lot more now than I did when I wrote that book.
Yeah.
But that book still, a lot of people tell me it really helps them. Because
it's
it
very
helps them
helpful.
recognize,
Yeah.
But interesting, when I was in Australia for speaking to a few months ago, I met an author called, I forget her surname. Her first name is Brawny, but I forget her surname. She wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying People. And she used to work with dying patients like I did in palliative care, care provider. And she wrote this book, did very well, The Top 5 Regrets of Dying People. You know what the top regret was?
What is it?
I wish I had the courage to be myself. I wish I had the courage to be myself. Now, I don't want anybody to be on their deathbed.
I'm not going to have that regret.
And the only thing that would challenge about that formulation is it wasn't a question of courage. It's not that you were not courageous. It's that as a child, you had to suppress yourself to be accepted by your environment, and that became your life. So it's not, you didn't lack courage. You had no choice in the matter. But that's the top one.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that, and I see people, people of a generation above me who I can tell are living lives that will be filled with regret.
Yeah.
But they have such a strong attachment to living that life. And what I notice with people I work with is they have a strong attachment to these unhealthy coping mechanisms or, flaws.
Because those coping mechanisms help them survive their childhoods, and they can't imagine themselves without it. Even though those same coping mechanisms are now causing problems. So here's the analogy I often give. I live in Canada, where in many parts of the country it gets awfully cold in the wintertime. So people adapt. How do they adapt? They put on warm clothing.
Right.
Then the summer heat comes. What would happen to them if they're still wearing the same clothing?
Right.
They would get sick, hyperthermia, they might even die. So a coping mechanism that in one setting saved your life can threaten it in another setting. The problem is the warm clothing, we put that on consciously, we can take it off consciously. These adaptive mechanisms, they're unconscious. So sometimes something has to happen to shake us out of it. And I've often seen people get sick before they realize that, oh, this is not the life that I want to live.
Yeah. There are maybe habits that I've had that I am aware of in the past, you know, people that I'm drawn to that are so ingrained in me that it feels physically painful to stop doing them.
I totally understand. And then the question is, what would you rather have? The false relationship or the pain?
And sometimes in the past, the answer's been, I'd rather have the pain.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because the pain that's familiar is sometimes feels delusionally safe.
Well, I mean, the pain of, let's say you're a people pleaser, and if you stop pleasing people, all of a sudden these people won't like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to hurt.
Yes.
But what would you rather have? Being your suppressed self who pleases people, or being a person who's got some pain because you're authentic?
Well, the answer is different for me now than it used to be.
Exactly.
You know? And that's my work. But for many people, I think that they don't even understand that is a conscious choice, and that conscious choice is available to them.
It is now, but it wasn't then. As a child, no child chooses consciously to suppress themselves, you know. And as adults, we're no longer as resourceless and helpless and isolated. We can actually, but it's still very difficult to make this. Recently, I had to make a choice to give up a big speaking trip for a wonderful family event, and I'm telling you, even though I've been teaching this stuff for decades, I had a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into the details here, but I made the decision to give up the external for this family experience. After I made the decision, it was obvious. But before, I still found it somewhat difficult. And I talk about this tension between attachment and authenticity. So attachment is a need to belong and to be loved, to be accepted. Authenticity is a need to be ourselves, to be connected to our gut feelings. We have both needs. What happens to a child if, in order to feel attached and connected and accepted, they have to shut down their authenticity? What are they going to give up? The authenticity or the attachment?
The authenticity.
In every case, they give up the authenticity. Then as adults, they don't know who they are anymore. And whose life am I leading? And how come I keep getting into these situations? So then the difference is, as you suggest, now it can be a conscious choice that we can reclaim our authenticity. But it's not an overnight, one-time decision. It's it's almost like a daily decision.
And as we talked about earlier, sometimes that decision is easier on one day than it is on another day.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Going back to last week when I was in Congress and also in another meeting with a congresswoman this morning.
Oh yeah.
These 3 amazing Republican congresswomen have offered to support us, the victims, the survivors. And one of the questions they ask, which I want to ask if you have thoughts on, is what changes can be made in this country to the way we deal with victims coming forward or survivors of sexual abuse?
Yeah. I addressed that question in the last chapter of The Myth of Normal. There needs to be a lot more trauma awareness in this culture. The average physician, believe it or not, does not get a single lecture on trauma and its multiple impacts. They don't know how to recognize it. I know so many people who have been to all kinds of psychiatrists and doctors. Nobody ever asked them what actually happened to you. So Bruce Perry, who's a great child psychiatrist, you know Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's written a book with Oprah called What Happened to You? But we don't ask that question. So doctors need to be educated about trauma. Teachers need to be educated about trauma. There needs to be a trauma-informed educational system because these kids are acting out their traumas in the classroom, in their learning problems, in their acting out, in their aggression or in their victimization, in their inattention, whatever, you know. So they're acting out stresses and disturbances in their environment. And the schools are designed to inculcate in kids certain facts and certain behaviors. Let me go back to that Harvard article that I quoted before. They say that brain development, I'm quoting directly, and this article appeared in the journal Pediatrics 12 years ago, 13 years ago. It said the brain develops in an ongoing process that begins before birth and continues into adulthood, and establishes either a firm or a fragile foundation for all the health, learning, and behavior that follow. So, what does that mean? Doctors need to be educated to pay attention to the emotional needs of the pregnant woman, because stress on pregnant women has an impact on the brain development of the child. That's not even controversial.
Absolutely.
We have to pay attention to how we give birth in this country. And here, I was talking to a well-known obstetrician here yesterday, and she was telling me, like in my province, British Columbia, the cesarean section rate is 47%. She said here it's close to 50%. It should be about, the cesarean section should be life-saving, so it's not a question of get rid of it. They should be employed about 15, 20% of the time, maybe. Not 50% of the time. And that interfering with the natural birth process actually undermines the mother-child bonding. Then in this country, 20% of women, 25% of women have to go back to work within 2 weeks of giving birth.
Yeah.
Which means crazy. A massive abandonment of young babies. For economics, it's not their fault, it's economics. You know, so there needs to be, and it traumatizes the child. So there needs to be trauma-informed medical system, a trauma-informed educational system, so that the role of the schools is not to teach the details of the Battle of Waterloo or what happened in the Civil War or 2 times 2. Yeah, those are important. But the essential task of the schools should be how to help children develop healthy brains. And as soon as you ask that question, you're looking at what conditions does that require. So to answer to your question, we have to pay a lot more attention to genuine human needs and developmental needs. A trauma-informed legal system. Look how often, especially in sexual assault cases, what happens to women when they go into court?
Or even before that, when they go to law enforcement. Because law enforcement needs some major trauma-informed. They're illiterates, so that the victim gets stigmatized, and then some lawyer who doesn't give a damn about the humanity of the person they're dealing with, they just want to win the case, is going to try and tear the skin off an already vulnerable and hurt victim. And that's one of the laws that we're trying to get changed, that many of the survivors of Epstein and Maxwell were coming together and petitioning for, Congress to change the laws on giving victims proper paid legal support. Because otherwise, there's already an imbalance in power between them and the perpetrator. And then they're going up against somebody who 9 times out of 10 has more resources than they do.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. And so, in answer to your question, we need trauma-informed medical system, trauma-informed school system from early ages on, trauma-informed legal system. Those would be a good beginnings.
Yeah.
Big asks, but actually...
We have to start, though. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
I would say those are the essentials.
Yeah, okay. And then, finally, I want to end on something to do with Gaza.
Yeah.
And... what I've seen from many people, I contribute in the way that I can, and I'm always looking for ways that I can be helpful.
Yeah.
But many people, I think, feel totally overwhelmed with that they can't do anything to help the situation.
Yeah.
What can people do?
Yeah. So there is such a thing called moral injury, which is watching something happen that goes against your values, and you feel helpless in the face of it. And that's hitting tens of millions of people around the world.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, some Israelis, this is in the West Bank, it's not even Gaza. I'm getting this from the Israeli press, by the way. A Palestinian village was attacked by some Jewish settlers, which they do all the time. They come and burn crops, they burn cars, they beat people up. Palestinians defended themselves. The army came and bulldozed 3,100 olive trees. Now, olive trees are the life of the Palestinian landholder and peasant, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's what we see in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that people should know is that they're not alone in their outrage, in their pain, in their grief. Millions and millions of people are sharing it, number one. Number two, several prominent Israeli Jewish scholars of genocide have called this genocide. A former Israeli leading army officer who's in the Israeli parliament now said that the Israeli army right now shoots babies for a hobby. This wasn't an anti-Semitic, anti-Israel fanatic who said this. This is an Israeli politician and a former and a colonel in the reserves in the Israeli army. So people should realize that them speaking out does not make them anti-Semites. They make them one with all of humanity, Jews and Israelis included, who have the heart and the openness to see what's going on. So they're not alone, and they should not be afraid to speak out. No, some people are afraid to speak out because they might lose their jobs, which has happened. It has happened to doctors here in LA. But at least they should know that the charge of anti-Semitism by people who express their grief and outrage is a completely spurious and cynical and deliberate attempt to silence them. So don't let themselves be intimidated by that. Finally, join with others. Don't be alone. There's online groups. There is protest groups. Do something. Here in Los Angeles, apparently, there's a demonstration outside the Israeli consulate. No, it's not going to do anything in a sense of, it's not going to change Israeli policy.
Right.
The stakes are much bigger than that. But at least having done something and expressed yourself and join it with others will dissipate that sense of helplessness.
Right, yeah.
And keep yourself informed, which also means get information other than the mainstream media, which is largely lined up with the American backing of the Israeli project. So, you know, watch Democracy Now!, watch my son Aaron and his program on YouTube.
And maybe write to Congress,
Right, express your views. Let these people know that their silence is not going unobserved. Do something.
Yeah.
That's what I say to people.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, you know, Gabor, I want to thank you for coming and speaking with me today. I want to thank you for the work you've done over many, many years. I appreciate your own journey and your willingness to share your own vulnerabilities. On a personal level, I want to thank you for being a man that I could trust.
Is it okay if I tell my wife that?
I don't know.
Because for good reason, she doesn't always, you know, but at least we can talk about it. So thank you.
It's sometimes easier to trust someone else's husband.
Yeah, it's true. But in any case, thank you so much for that. And by the way, my wife and I are doing great. So.
Well, you can tell her that I appreciate her because she obviously has been a wonderful wife to you.
Well, you know, it's my biggest learning experience has been the relationship. And I'm very happy to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me, and thanks for the acknowledgement. It's really a pleasure to meet you in person.
You too. You too. To many more meetings.
Absolutely.
Thank you.